Even though by 2013, Abel Tesfaye had released 30 songs under the stage name The Weeknd, Kissland is considered to be his debut studio album. Let's get into it. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I go by the name of Ham Green, and this is a deep dive into The Weeknd's debut album, Kissland. Kissland was released on September 10th, 2013, the day after my 15th birthday. The album's production was primarily handled by Danny Boy Styles, The Weeknd himself, and Dahlia, among others. Writers include Belly, Harry Fraud, who has worked with Playboi Carti, French Montana, and A$AP Rocky, Dahlia, who worked on Often, King of the Fall, and Low Life, Danny Boy Styles, who has also worked on Often, Kissland, 6 Inch, among others. Kissland, like the song, not just the album. The album consists of 10 tracks, with the songs Kissland, Belong to the World, Love in the Sky, Live For, and Pretty as lead singles, with Wanderlust being a single in the UK. As far as genres go, it's considered to be a R&B slash soul, dance slash electronic album. The overarching themes of Kissland itself are life on tour and life at home. The album art and aesthetic overall were inspired solely by The Weeknd's first trip to Japan. When asked why Japan, he said,
"Because it's the furthest I've ever been from home."
Kissland symbolizes the outside world and the world that surrounds the trilogy world.
It tells the story of me coming back home and dealing with what I left behind.
The album debuted at number 2 on the US Billboard 200, selling 95,000 copies in its first week. As of August 2015, the album had sold 273,000 copies in the US. That's 2 years after release. And while that certainly doesn't sound like a failure at all, like debuting at number 2, that's huge. Compared to his original trilogy, which sold 558,000 copies in the US by 2015, it wasn't a success by commercial music industry standards. To put this into perspective, Kissland didn't reach gold certification until 2019 and failed to produce any charting singles on the Billboard Hot 100. However, it still remains a fan favorite and a cult classic in the Weeknd fandom to this day. When people reference and say, "Oh, I miss the old Weeknd sound," this is the type of music they're referring to. In an interview with GQ in 2021, Abel was asked to reflect on why the Kissland project as a whole fell short. The interviewer described Kissland as not hitting the high standards of his other work, sonically, lyrically, visually. It's a jumble of what feels like an endless number of warring ideas. I'll let you be the judge of that. They asked, was it the label people pushing and pulling you in different directions, or what? He said, "Oh no, the exact opposite. Kissland is not a label's type of record, especially since it's the debut album. As a debut record, there was an expectation for it. I guess for me, it was the 4th album. I feel like I said everything I needed to say on Trilogy, and that sound and whatever I wanted to put out into the universe. It created a genre, and I made 30 of those songs. I think by the time I got to Kissland, I was definitely emotionally tapped out. I did 3 albums in 1 year, plus I was working on Take Care too, and that was all in 2011. And me not fully transitioning into full-on pop star yet, I was kind of in a middle ground, and I feel like Kissland was that. It was a very honest album. It was a lot of me being stubborn, of not letting a lot of input in. I had writer's block, and my friend Belly helped me out of that. It was a lot of overcompensation to really say, I don't know, this is what I have, but I don't know what this is. And it became Kissland. Another quote from the same article, he says, "I was tapped out, man. It just didn't feel authentic. Like Kissland felt way more authentic. At least Kissland was a genuine thing. It might not have been what people expected. It might not have been great at the time, but that's who I was. And that's what all these albums are. That's who I am at that time." Now we're going to take it back to an interview he did in 2013 with Complex. As for the concept of Kissland, in The Weeknd's first ever interview with Complex, he said, "Kissland symbolizes the tour life, but it's a world that I created in my head. Just like House of Balloons symbolizes Toronto and my experiences there, but it's a world I created. When I think about Kissland, I think about a terrifying place. It's a place I've never been to before that I'm very unfamiliar with. A lot of it is inspired by filmmakers like John Carpenter, David Cronenberg, and Ridley Scott because they know how to capture fear. That's what Kissland is to me, an environment that's just honest fear. I don't know who I am right now, and I'm doing all these outlandish things in these settings that I'm not familiar with. To me, it's the most terrifying thing ever. So when you hear the screams in the record and you hear all these horror references and you feel scared, listen to the music because I want you to feel what I'm feeling. Kissland is like a horror movie. So what is the significance to the title Kissland? The Weeknd said, the title came from a conversation that I had overheard and those words stuck out. Someone said Kissland and I thought, that's going to be the title of my album. He was like, I don't want to just call it Dark World. And I also would like to point out, I don't think he is saying that Japan itself is scary. I think he's saying like traveling the world after being very sheltered and staying in one place his whole life was very scary, and it put him in places that he'd never been to before with customs that he was not used to. Kicking off the album with the first track, we have Professional. This is the first two-part song on Kissland and the fifth two-part song in his discography. This song features plenty of strings and lots of twinkling production in the first half. In this song, a stripper is the main character, and a bigger metaphor about living in a world where partying is glorified by capitalism, and when not out partying, you're living behind a screen. The opening lines of this song are, it's ideal, you need someone to tell you how to feel, and you think your happiness is real. There's so much more the world has to reveal, but you choose to be concealed. Can you see that? If you wind up not being able to see it, I'll just put them on the screen. He's saying that by participating in constant consumption, we let him or other artists, movies, TV, music tell us how to feel instead of us processing our own emotions and figuring out how we feel and having feelings independent of art. This is supported by the lines, there's so much more the world has to reveal, but you choose to be concealed. Saying that by living a life online, it prohibits us from going out to experience life outside of the screen. According to Genius, this can look like sitting behind a computer, downloading music, watching videos, posting on social media, living a lonely and virtual life that we only break out of for weekends and the nightlife. Genius says the main character of this song doesn't necessarily have to be a stripper, but she is definitely a professional and she is well known in her small town. Genius also says the line, so you're somebody now, but what's a somebody in a nobody town? I don't think you even know it, can be interpreted as coming from the POV of the Weeknd himself, saying that he has some notoriety, like transitioning into a pop star, like we said previously, in his town, but he doesn't really have that all over the place yet. So he's somebody in Toronto, but what's that? What's that mean? If he steps outside his circles, he might not be as popping as he thinks he is. When he sings, you made enough to quit a couple years ago, but it consumes you. It's everywhere you go. It's saying that the professional has made enough money to this point to quit doing whatever she's doing and maybe go do something else or buy the things that she wanted to get. However, she's addicted to this lifestyle now, and you can also apply this to musicians. Like, musicians make enough money once they've made it pretty quickly to where they don't really have to like continue, but they're either like an artist addicted to continuing to share their art, or they're addicted to the lifestyle and need to keep making gobs and gobs of money to sustain their lifestyle. When he says, but I own this time, this ain't new, now I decide when we're through, he's saying that since he's paying for the professional, he gets to decide when their time is up, and he also gets to decide when his time is up as the Weeknd. Genius says Kissland also captures the Weeknd abandoning his old life, confined within four walls and never once leaving his city due to monetary constraints, and swapping that out for a life on the road and leaving behind the one woman that truly loved him. In the second part, we drop into a bit of a darker, slower beat with a sample of Amika's Professional Loving. In the chorus, she says, I love, you love, this love, we're professional. I know, you know, we're sophisticated at loving, we're professional. I find it fascinating that just adding that comma between love and you completely changes the whole entire meaning of that bit of the song. It's one comma away from saying I love you. I love, comma, you love. In verse 1 of part 2, he asks the question, what does it mean when your heart's already numb? He follows that up with, you're professional. Won't treat it like it's personal. No, cause it's just love. What do you mean by that? When you're professional, you keep your mind on your business, your feelings don't exist, and you don't cross the line into romantic feelings ever. He then sings, it always makes its way back around. It's dispensable. To fall is unacceptable. You might notice that he said the fall. If you didn't, I've highlighted it here for you so you can see. It's really tiny up there, but we're gonna ignore that. He's saying that the love and attention she's gotten from work and personal life have become completely intertwined, and falling in love in her line of work is completely unacceptable. He then picks up the speed of his flow and says, because everything you've been through made you stronger, and every day you learn about yourself, and nothing really played out how it's supposed to, depending on somebody else's wealth. But now you know the value of $1, and girl, I make enough of it to spend. The double meaning continues, comparing the life of a stripper to the life of a musician. Musicians, once they have access to that grandiose amount of fortune and fame, it's all dependent on the public to continue to support them. Similarly, the stripper is dependent on people coming into her establishment and paying her that way. And The Weeknd appreciates her work a lot. He loves it, actually. In the second verse, we kind of go back and forth between the past and the present, where he says, all of those nights you were barely holding your own, girl, you've got it made. Had you blaming yourself for when life did you wrong, now you've got it made. Getting rich to the drums of your favorite song, girl, you've got it made. 'Cause your freedom was here in this cage all along. When he says getting rich to the drums of your favorite song, on the surface, it's referencing how the stripper will do dances to potentially her favorite songs. However, this could also play into that double meaning of musicians saying he's getting rich to the sounds of music he actually wants to be making. When he says, cause your freedom was here in this cage all along, he's saying freedom comes in the form of a cage, which sounds counterintuitive. However, this could also be a metaphor for the life of a stripper or a musician serving as a figurative cage. They don't live a normal life anymore. Often given either the schedule, working night shifts, or musicians having notoriety, can't go to the grocery store anymore, stuff like that. I think it needs to be said when I talk about stuff like this, I highly respect and support the jobs of sex workers in any capacity. I think it just needs to be said up front when I'm talking about this stuff. We're not talking about this in any good or bad way, girl. He goes on to ask more questions towards the end, singing, oh, how'd you drain all the soul from your eyes? How'd you teach yourself how to smile in a world where your dreams can't be real? No, every touch that you sell is a lie. Smiling through her unconventional lifestyle has become natural, but she can't hide that it's taken a toll on her eyes. Y'all remember in America's Next Top Model when Tyra is talking about smizing? She's saying, like, you can smile with your eyes, but keep your face, like, serving. This is kind of like the opposite of that. This is kind of like we are frowning with our eyes. We're frowning. She's dead in her eyes, yet she's smiling. Kind of giving, like, Valerie vibes. But she's a professional, and so she's dissociated from intimacy. We end the song by repeating the chorus, and that is professional. Heading into the second track, The Town. Sonically, The Town starts off with some dark, guttural sounds that we are familiar with from the last track, met with piano and synth carrying the beat. This song meets us with some of that unconventional song structure that The Weeknd loves to use, starting off the song with a hook instead of a verse. He says, you did many things that I liked, and you like diamond rings. I can provide for you. You made me feel so good before I left on the road, and you deserve your name on a crown, on a throne. The girl he's talking about, she is not like other girls. She's different. He doesn't usually want to provide for the girls he's interacting with, be it in a club, on the road, etc. But this one's different. We can infer from the lyrics that this girl is a hometown girl because this was before he left on the road. He is so mesmerized by this girl that he thinks she deserves to be crowned on a throne. After this, the drums kick in with other sound effects like the sound of metal banging and TV static. He says, I haven't been around my town in a long while. I apologize, but I've been trying to get this money like I got a couple kids who rely on me. Verse 1 reveals this song is written retrospectively. He's not actively going through this situation right now. He's saying he hasn't been home in a while because he's been putting in the work. He's talking about a hometown girl before he left on the road. That puts us in the future. Does that make sense? He says, but I remember on the bathroom floor before I went on tour, like you said we couldn't do it again because you had a thing with some other man. So we're kind of at a crossroads. Looking at the relationship he had in the past with this girl from home, her life doesn't pause just because he goes on tour. She's moved on and they can't do it again. He says, you said it was love and you said you were lost. Then you wished me good luck to find somebody to love. She says she loves her new man that she's found in the wake of his absence. She was lost before she found her love. Now, this is my interpretation of things, but she is feeling like she was lost before she found this love. But she doesn't blame him for leaving. She understands that he needed to go on tour to grow his career. This is what it takes to become a musician. He has to leave the city. Plot twist! Plot twist though! Now I've heard you're single and I'll give you something to live for. Yes, I will. Foreshadowing Live For that's coming up in just a few tracks. I guess her love didn't work out though. Now he's back in the town. They're gonna reconnect. They're gonna link up. Directly after he sings these lines, we break it down into this incredibly chaotic piano beat layered with guitar. He sings verse 2 up an octave or two. It's like kind of falsetto, saying, honey, please, you thought you'd never ever see my face again, but your love just swayed the lies. When he stared into your eyes, he just might be too good for you. You're almost dead to him. You're sleeping with a frozen heart. He's saying that her man just might be too good for her and that she should be with somebody more like The Weeknd, who is like a flawed character. And she's probably been yearning for him to come back into town and probably self-sabotaged her own relationship, her love, filling her time with this other guy, convincing herself that it's love. This in turn ruins her boyfriend's perception of her, and they break up. He says, well, baby, it's over now, and you can always count on me, your unshackled boy, unrestrained to touch, so immune to love. Which, like, he's lying here. She can't always count on him because he's not always there. However, whatever these two have going on is not love. That's all I'll say. He says, and it feels so priceless to me that you're always free, that you'll take me in. Now I'm everything. You're everything. You simply cannot put a price on this loyalty. That she is always available when he comes around. That her orbit, no matter how irregular it may be, is stronger than that of another man. He says, I bet you'll take me in. I know you'll take me in now. The same place I left you in. Then we break it down, repeat the hook, and that is the town. Honestly, final thoughts on this song. I think this song is incredibly romantic. This is gonna sound crazy. It's gonna be my hear me out, okay? Romance does not always have to be like falling in love. It can be like, I don't know, I think of Pride and Prejudice all of a sudden. I'm like, it's not always right in your face, like I'm sending you teddy bears and flowers and candy. It could be something kind of unrequited. It could be something that you yearn for. I'm really into yearning this year. We've got yearning on lock in this song. I'm sorry, but you deserve a crown on a throne. Like, come on. On to the third track, which is Adaptation. The overall premise of this song is what it looks like to adapt to The Weeknd leaving and how he adapts to his new life on the road. This song leads straight into the lines, when the sun comes up, you're searching for a love, so your heart won't lead you to anyone. When the sun goes down, you know what you become. you become awake unlike the rest of us. If you will recall, Until Dawn, Here Comes the Sun, that song ends suspended in time. We don't really know how it ends. They end in unrequited love for each other. I theorize that adaptation is a continuation of Till Dawn, Here Comes the Sun. If Kissland is just the 3 mixtapes trilogy expanded in the universe, that would make sense. That's my evidence. You guys, this is a long paragraph, so I'm just gonna read it. When the sun comes up is when Till Dawn ends, and we see that she is searching for a real love and not the lust of their relationship. Genius says this could look like her pursuing daytime activities to distract herself from the weekend, such as working on her career, seeking out healthy relationships, working on her passions. However, once the night arrives again, as it always does, she returns to her old ways. Unlike the rest of us, is unlike the majority of upstanding citizens. What people would consider like the typical upstanding citizen, like working a 9-to-5 job with a commute, cooking and cleaning, stuff like that. Then we move into our second sample of the album, which is a sample of Bring On the Night, written by Sting as performed by the Police. I think Sting is in the Police. He does all the singing. Fun fact, Edge of 17 by Stevie Nicks interpolates Bring On the Night, which is sampled in adaptation. The sample is warped and distorted. It kind of sounds like you're yelling from the bottom of a lake, is how I would describe it. He says, "The afternoon has gently passed me by. The evening spreads its sail against the sky, waiting for tomorrow, just another day, as I bid yesterday goodbye." Whenever a sample comes up in any of the Weeknd songs, I always like to ask, why did he put it there? Like, what does this mean in the context? If he's taking the sample and putting it in his song, I'm treating it like it's his lyrics, because it is. A sample is a very intentional thing, and you have to get it cleared and you have to get permission. That's why some of the samples from the original mixtapes did not make it into trilogy when it was put out, because they didn't get clearance for them until 10 years later. Here, the afternoon is passing by gently, kind of like if you were sitting on your couch and it was raining outside and you're curled up with a good book and a cup of tea. That's what it sounds like to me anyway, when an afternoon gently passes me by. When this happens, you're so encapsulated in what you're doing in the afternoon that before you know it, it's 2 a.m. and you just finished your book and you haven't had dinner. Or like maybe you didn't have an afternoon gently pass you by, but before you know it, it's 2 a.m. and you've been scrolling on YouTube Shorts watching people eat in New York restaurants. I totally don't do that at all. Whatever you're doing, you're procrastinating, and next thing you know, it's the next day and you bid yesterday goodbye. The significance of afternoon here is I don't think I've ever heard this man talk about an afternoon. We are doing day and night. We don't talk about the afternoon. However, he's letting another voice come in to describe what an afternoon looks like in this space. As the sun goes down and the moon comes out, another day is over and the night begins. Oh, guess what? I just went and had a snack. I had something in my teeth that whole time. First one starts off by saying, "I lay my head on 1,000 beds." He's saying he's been a lot of places recently. He says it's been a test to see how far a man can go without himself. He's gone quite a ways without himself. You could honestly argue that all the way back to House of Balloons, he's been detached from himself. He says, "I think I lost the only piece that held it all in place. Now my madness is the only love I let myself embrace. I could have stayed." The missing piece being the girl he left back in Toronto. Madness is the only thing he embraces now. If you recall, he wrote and finished this album while on tour for Trilogy. And he said it was extremely difficult, and a bunch of people told him not to do that. In the interview with GQ from 2021, he said, "Jimmy Iovine told me this, and I'll never forget it. He goes, you never want to finish an album, let alone make an album on tour. That album I made on tour." Kissland was a very tour-driven album. So in this way, he has to embrace that madness to fight his writer's block. This may even be why he's imagining what would have happened if he stayed in Toronto. He's using this what if as a form of escapism. In the chorus, we're snapped back to reality when he says, "But I chose the lie. I chose the life. Then I realized she might have been the one. I let it go for a little fun. I made a trade, gave away our days for a little fame. Now I'll never see your face, but it's okay, I adapted anyway. In the chorus, the push and pull of tour and home is coming to a head. He's transitioning into superstardom, so he really only does have a little bit of fame. He feels like he traded love for money, and he feels bad about it. Not only because they're not together, but because he's literally not there. He's on tour. He's physically not in town. And when he starts singing about models in the next verse, this is what he's adapted to cope with being away from home. This will become a major theme in works to come, especially a big focus of After Hours. In verse 2, it's almost broken up into two parts where he's describing what he goes through and what the models go through. He says, adapted to these models, who's adapted to the bottle. They take it down like water just to burn away their sorrows. And then what he's going through is up next, but that part is all open vocals, almost like a choir singing. He says, I'll stay up till tomorrow just to tear down all their morals. After this, once again, we're pulled back in with his crisp vocals. They're not distorted when he sings, and all is fair in love and war, she's pure. Oh my gosh, what did I just watch recently in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? When she goes, all's fair in love and war. Moving into the bridge, this idea is reiterated, saying, so pure, like the love that's so uncut and raw and clean. So clean as opposed to what I offered. I wish you could see. That's so beautiful. What does he offer? Well, he moves back into the chorus, basically saying he offers the life, the fast life, bright, shiny stardom life that someone like her, so pure, shouldn't be around. In the second bridge, we do plenty of yearning. Yes, you heard me right. That is a second bridge. When he sings over and over that, she might just be the one. She might just be the one. Oh, baby, she might just be the one. She might just be the one. We end with repeating the sample, where in context now, it almost feels like when they say the afternoon gently passes by, it's almost like time has been passing by. Insert time instead of afternoon. When he left on tour and time passed in a way that doesn't hit him until now, after he's experienced the fast life and the models and the tour and etc. As we move into the outro of Adaptation, it fades smoothly into Love in the Sky. Love in the Sky starts off by following the melody from Adaptation into the beginning of the song. He says, there's no one inside, but you're free to relax. Well, don't mind if I do, let me get comfortable. If you commit to this ride, there's no turning back. Oh, okay, well actually that sounds a lot more serious. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by this? Well, to answer that question, we have to answer the question, what is the ride? What is the ride? Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you right now. In Drake's 2011 album, Take Care, The Weeknd actually sings about this very thing on the song called The Ride. I'll save Drake's portion for his own deep dive, but this is what happens when you do a deep dive. Sometimes you have to go on a tangent. Sometimes you have to go down a corridor that you would not normally be on, and you have to do a little detour, and we'll get back on track in just a second. Just go with me here for a second, okay? So, in the chorus of The Ride, The Weeknd sings, I've been faded too long, why won't it stop? Yeah, the ride. Also, freaking overlap with Rolling Stone. He says, cause getting faded too long got me on this Rolling Stone. The ride insinuates the use of rugs. If you don't know what rugs are on this channel, somebody in the comments please help these people out, because I use that word a lot in the Weeknd's music, okay? But we're using rugs, not on the floor. While currently on Love in the Sky, we're looking at a ride that you can't turn back from, but instead it's going back to the Weeknd. You cannot go back once you have spun the block. He sings, you've been here before. Remember these sheets? This world's not for us. It's not what it seems. This insinuates that they've tried to go out into the world and do different things, but they both ultimately ended up unsatisfied. So for an unspecified amount of time, they're going to come back to each other and explore what each other has been missing. Leading into the bridge, he says, you'll learn to love how to dream. Wait a second, didn't he just say, this is why the corkboard is very important. In Professional, he says, in a world where your dreams can't be real. No? And then in the bridge of Love in the Sky, he says, you'll learn to love how to dream. I guess she didn't really like dreaming because they didn't really ever come true. But we're gonna learn to love how to dream in this song. Dream. You try to remember to put these lyrics up on the board every time. This is kind of what this song is about and what it sounds like. A dream. It sounds like a freaking dream, okay? We're riding on a cloud of electric guitars and dramatic synths and a drum beat in the back. In verse 2, he sings, "There's no need to hide, don't overreact. You said you've been to the sky, we'll go beyond that." She might feel that revisiting him is incredibly vulnerable, but he's trying to make her feel comfortable. She's told him she's been to the sky. Genius says that this could be a euphemism for rugs, which would make sense in the context of the ride, but he also says it could be more akin to sex, which I think is more plausible. We're talking about a relapse of a person, not substances, but we're using the ride as a metaphor for relapsing on a person. After repeating the last half of the first verse and the bridge again, we move into the hook where he sings, "We'll find our love in the sky." Now, I know that y'all cannot see that up there, but it says hook, "We will find our love in the sky." Moving into verse 3, I need y'all to sit down. Don't overreact because this is a long one. He sings, "How does it feel? Do you feel like you did before? Do you see the world getting small? How does it feel? Are you free?" I would like to bring us back to Rolling Stone once again. Now, I know these references are kind of far-fetched, but just go with me for a second, because this is all I could think about when I was doing the Rolling Stone deep dive over on TikTok. Okay, so Bob Dylan has a song called "Like a Rolling Stone." In the chorus of Bob Dylan's "Like a Rolling Stone," he says, "How does it feel? How does it feel to be without a home, like a complete unknown, like a rolling stone? How does it feel?" If Rolling Stone by The Weeknd is all about popping off and becoming famous, Bob Dylan's is all about this girl on her own. So that song almost has more in common with this one than it does Rolling Stone. They're actually in like a three-way Venn diagram where they have like a little bit of overlap in the middle and then everything else is separate and different. Also in verse 3 of Rolling Stone by The Weeknd, "So baby love me before they all love me until you won't love me because they'll all love me." The girl in Love in the Sky is the girl from the Thursday era. The girl from Thursday has returned in Love in the Sky. Which, if she is the girl in Love in the Sky and she's returning, now I heard that you're single, she's returning. She's also the girl in Professional, The Town. She's not in Adaptation. Adaptation is Solo. Alright, back to Love in the Sky. So we pick up in verse 3 with what he's been experiencing since Thursday. He says, "As for me, I've been getting grown. As for me, I've been getting old. As for me, I've been flying around the world. I've been killing these shows, but I'm always getting high because my confidence low, and I'm always in a rush. Ain't no time to slow." Time has passed, as we said in Adaptation. He's experiencing all that the world has to offer now. The rest is pretty straightforward. He's falling into this trap that a lot of artists fall for, which is doing rugs. But it's funny because he was already doing rugs before he got famous. However, in the very next line, he reveals that his confidence is low despite the traction he's been gaining. And now we almost have a new reason for using rugs. Instead of just to have a good time like in House of Balloons, he's kind of using them to cope with the lack of confidence that he has in and not feeling worthy as a star, like not fully solidifying his place in pop culture. I don't know, I just get stuck on that line because it's so honest. He does this thing all over Kissland where he'll say something really vulnerable and then be like, "I'm fucking bitches. I'm fucking bitches. I get bitches." It's so like jarring that juxtaposition throughout. We quickly move past the vulnerability, and that is almost like a literary device to say, like, we don't have time to dwell on the low confidence, okay? We have another show to play. Like, we can't be thinking about how my confidence is low when I have another show to do. In that same vein, there's no time to fuck slow. Like I said, we don't have time to think about how your confidence is low. We don't have time to fuck slow. We're on tour. There's no time. If you heard recently Taylor Swift talking about when she was on tour making an album, she was like, recently, since I'm not on tour, I have time for hobbies. Whereas when I'm on tour, I don't have time to do anything but think about what my acoustic mashup is going to be that week. At the end, we're left with one final thought. There's one final thought, and I only have one final lyric in my hands. I think a lot of addicts may think this from time to time, whether it's rugs or sex or whatever your heart desires. He says, I got it in control, control, control. And that is Love in the Sky. If Love in the Sky ends with rain sounds, Belong to the World opens up with a huge clap of thunder and thunderstorm sounds, along with a sample of Machine Gun by Portishead. In the 2013 Complex article, I literally cannot shut up about this article, and I would say take a shot every time I mention this article, but you would probably not be alive at the end of the video, so don't do that. The Weeknd was asked about this sample in this interview. Okay, so the interviewer says, I heard Portishead drums on Belong to the World. The Weeknd says, yeah, that was the inspiration behind that. I wrote a letter to the producers of Portishead and let them know this album is inspired by them. The entire Kissland album, the interviewer says. The Weeknd replies, most of it. I find a sound and I run with it. It varies from Stevie Nicks to Genesis and Phil Collins. The production is very cinematic for me, and R&B was never cinematic like that. He's literally pioneering a new genre. Like, come on. Starting in verse 1, he says, I know you want your money, girl, because you do this every day, okay? The way you doubt your feelings and look the other way. So we're dealing with another transactional relationship that he is paying for, and she expects to be paid just like anyone else. But what's that? There's something else here. He's saying she might have feelings for him, and she's like, sorry. She's like, what is that? I can't have feelings for this man. This is my job. In the second half of verse 1, he says, well, it's something I relate to, your gift of nonchalance, but nobody's ever made me fall in love with this amount of touch. He's like, okay, twin, go off, twin. He's like, okay, twin, we don't feel anything. He's like, we're two sides of the same coin, girl. He's like, I'm also avoiding attachment as fuck. He's like, usually when I'm in this position, I can't feel a damn thing for a girl, but you are different. You gave me one touch and I am hooked, girl. He reiterates this point in the pre-chorus, saying, I'm not a fool. I just love that you're dead inside. I'm not a fool. I'm just lifeless too. However, in the second half of verse 1, it's a bit more revealing of how he actually feels. He says, but you taught me how to feel when nobody ever would, and you taught me how to love when nobody ever could. Okay, so this is the first time he's talking about being in love with anybody. If we continue to look at his discography like one big epic story, he has not felt this way for anyone literally ever. I don't think he's ever been in love. He has been in lust and in relationships that I guess he thought were love. He has no idea what love feels like, and no one has taught him what that feels like because he hasn't been in love before, or he hasn't even like had like real love in his life except for like maybe his mom and his grandma. No one was able to teach him how to love until the Belong to the World girl, as I'll be referring to her. In the Complex interview, the interviewer says, on Belong to the World, it sounds like you may have had a serious relationship. And he says, Belong to the World is about falling in love with the wrong person. There are some songs where I talk about the same person, but I like to make every song about someone else. Thursday is a conceptual album. Whatever that situation was, I spent the whole album focusing on that situation. Hold on. Wait a second. No one asked you about Thursday. Why are you talking about Thursday? Oh my god. This is literally the Thursday girl. Anyway, he's trying to cop out. He's not copping to, he's copping out, saying, I make songs about all different people. Girl, I am out here to bare your soul, and I'm seeing a pattern. Okay, we're pointing out a pattern. In the chorus, he says, ooh, girl, I know I should leave you and learn to mistreat you because you belong to the world. And I've always been hung up on this line. Let me put it up on the board. Because no matter like what he's saying, like even though he's like, you're heartless and you're lifeless and I am too, like he's speaking of this girl in a fond manner. And so I was always confused. I was like, why does he want to learn how to mistreat her? That seems counterintuitive. Don't you want to be loved? Nobody's ever made me fall in love with this amount of touch. He wants to treat her like crap. He wants to treat her like the other girls on purpose because he is having feelings and he doesn't know what to do with them. And he's like, fuck feelings. I don't want feelings. I'm the Weeknd. I can't have feelings. And also, I paid for your time. By the way, in case you forgot, this is a paid for transaction. Okay, so where did we leave off? My camera died yesterday, so I'm a little different now than I was 24 hours ago, aren't we all? However, I'm here to pick up where we left off. So I have gone ahead and completely put my same face of makeup back on, straightened my hair, put the same outfit on, to give you the illusion that no time has passed. Don't even worry about it. For you, literally no time has passed at all. In the second half of the chorus, we're getting more vulnerable. He says, and ooh girl, I want to embrace you, domesticate you, but you belong to the world. You belong to the world. When he says domesticate you, he's really saying, like, I want to make you my girl, my only girl. No one else can have you, girl, but you belong to the world. Which is funny if you draw a parallel to House of Balloons when he says you belong to me. It's almost like he loves this girl so much, he's willing to let her go. When he says you belong to the world, he's saying you don't belong to me, actually. In verse 2, he says, and I know that I'm saying too much, even though I'd rather hold my tongue. He's like, oop, sorry for trauma dumping, but he's holding on to her until their time is up. And he says, and this ain't right. You've been the only one to make me smile. In so long, I've succumbed to what I've become. He's saying he's been sad for a long while, and she's the first person who's been able to, like, crack open that hard, cold exterior and make him feel something. After repeating the pre and the chorus, we move into the bridge where the beat drops out and he sings this over electric guitar. You belong to the world. You belong to the world. You belong to the loneliness of filling every need. Oh no, you belong to the world. You belong to the world. You belong to the temporary moments of a dream. I'm not even going to overanalyze that, but just know pin. That's pin. Okay, so dream has come up for a third time. The first time was over here in professional, where he says, in a world where your dreams can't be real. Then we get it over here in Love in the Sky, when he says, you'll learn to love how to dream. And then over here, you belong to the temporary moments of a dream. So dreams are playing a big part in his lyrics in this album. Underneath all that scary stuff, it's very dreamy. It's saying, like, I'm dreaming of how I wish things turned out, and it's almost like a fantasy in that way. After that, we repeat the chorus, send it off in the outro, and that is Belong to the World. The only feature on Kissland is with Drake, and that is on the song Live For. We start off with a very fast-paced, almost ominous beat where the Weeknd starts singing as soon as the beat drops out. And he says, getting sober for a day got me feeling too low. They're trying to make me slow down, trying to tell me how to live. I'm about to lose control. The majority of people around him have been saying, like, it's going to be really hard to keep up with this lifestyle if you keep going down the path that you're going. You know, people who never made it out of the 27 Club, this is why. They're saying maybe you should sober up. Maybe you should try being sober for a little while, or like not going so hard on everything. He actually heeds this advice here, and he says, let me try it out for a second. Let me try it out for a day. And he's saying that he does not like it at all. And he's saying he feels too low because he's been so up in the clouds before. Potentially his confidence is also shot right now, and he's feeling like anxious. He mentions that in Love in the Sky. He says, but I'm always getting high because my confidence low. He's literally like, haha, fuck this, let's go out. He says, well, they can watch me fuck it up all in one night. I'm in my city in the summer, camoed out, leather booted, kissing bitches in the club. So he's having sex, he's spending money, and he's having a night out. A very expensive night out, might I add. He then says, and you have to do it all just to know where it gets you. Living dreams we could never afford. Now we're sitting in the back saying, dreams mentioned, he is living the dreams he could never afford before. He's finally made it, and he wants to take a moment to celebrate. And this is no time to be sober right now, by the way. And we have to run it back one line for the chorus to make sense. So he says, now we sitting in the back saying, this the shit that I live for. This the shit that I live for. This the shit that I live for. with the people I'd die for. And he says this over and over and over again. Like, you thought I said it a lot of times. That is the entire chorus. This is a reason to live for. Chasing this money and fame, like, that's a reason to keep going. And it's a callback to the town when he says, now I've heard that you're single, and I'll give you something to live for. Yes, I will. After we run through the chorus where he says this is the shit that I live for 100,000 times, we get a verse from Drake where he starts off echoing the sentiment from the chorus. He says, yeah, this the shit that I live for. This the shit that I die for. This the shit you can't fake, dog. This the shit you need God for. He's saying he would live for this and he would die for this. He'd put his life on the line for this. But you kind of have to have talent and drive in order to get where they have arrived at. I would interpret the God line two ways also, so hey, stay with me here for a second. The first way, you could interpret it as you need God or belief in a higher power in order to stay sane in this industry. The second version, the shit that we are up to in this song, the shit that we are getting into, you're gonna need God because you're gonna need to repent for your sins, basically. You're gonna need to ask for forgiveness, probably at a Catholic confessional or something. He says, how long do you think it's gonna take for you? I haven't been putting a single lyric up here. Hang on. I have gone through all of Live For and I have not put a single lyric up here. I'm losing it. Right here, he says, how long do you think it's gonna take for y'all to fall? That's a serious question because I seriously question all of y'all. I highlighted this, but we get a mention of fall from Drake himself. What does that mean in context though? Here, he's saying there are a lot of rappers who try to come up and do what he has successfully done. And a lot of them will fall off because they'll have one good song and don't have the drive to sustain a career out of it. Taking it back to this, the shit you can't fake, he's saying, like, you have to have it or you won't succeed. These rappers have to have what it takes to rise to the occasion, much like our friend Abel over here. He says, been touring the world, man. I've done spent racks in all the malls, and they know my story, flaws and all. I still got plaques hanging wall to wall, dog. He's saying he's also on that tour life, much like The Weeknd is. And that's on theme for Kissland. One of my critiques of his verse in The Zone was that it didn't really make sense in the story. So this line of thinking makes a lot more sense in the story. And it's almost like Drake and The Weeknd are coming together on what the story is versus having two different interpretations of it. He says his fans know his story, know his flaws, and they still support him. Clearly, that is proven by all the plaques on his wall. He says she just offered a strip tease, but she don't look like Demi Moore. Hips all on 45, waist all on 24. Which this line does not really age well, in my opinion, because we should not really be talking about the measurements of women's bodies. What he's basically saying is this woman is very curvy and she has a slim waist. And this is a common thing for rappers to call out celebrities, actors. Like, there's that whole entire song dedicated to Addison Rae. So this was like a normal practice 10 years ago. He says, and it's all love in the city. Still scream XO when that Henny pour. But I'm that boy, not just any boy. What the fuck you think I'm in it for? He says it's all love in Toronto, where he and The Weeknd both are from, and he's still repping XO when he's out and about in the town. It's believed that this line is included to clear up any rumors that were going around that Drake was mad about The Weeknd not signing with OVO. In the aforementioned Complex article from 2013, The Weeknd addresses this claim. When the interviewer asks, people think you guys aren't cool with each other anymore, he answers, no, that's not true, definitely not true, but it makes sense. The thing about Drake is I told him what my decisions were going to be, and he was down with that from the beginning. You mean in terms of your label deal? The interviewer asks. He says, everything. I told him from day one what my decision was going to be. I wasn't going that route. I was going to go my own route, and he supported me. So I don't want to hear any of that nonsense in the comments. I had thought this was part of why they had beef, but this is not the reason. What other reasons there may be, I don't know, but it has nothing to do with OVO and XO as record labels. The Weeknd has made it very clear in this interview that he was always going to do his own deal with the record label. And he honestly had a really freaking good deal if you think about it. He got to start his own label underneath a regular label. He has all the backing from a major record label while still having all the creative freedom with the power of a record label, like access to record label workers and distribution and things like that. Back to Drake's verse, he says, roll up in that thing, got hoes like Prince, but they know I'm king. What he means by that is, if you didn't know, because Prince has been gone for quite some time, but saying Prince dated a lot of people of notoriety. He dated a lot of famous women. There's an article, I'll link it below, but you can see all of the famous women that he dated or married or divorced. So Drake is even saying, like, my hoes are different from your hoes. Like, my hoes are rich and famous and beautiful and sexy and gorgeous and are in my circle. And in this, he's using a play on words, saying he is like a king. Then he says, Chubbs might hold that thing. If he get caught, he'll be home by spring. And no one bothered to do an annotation on this line, so I had to find out what the frick a Chubbs was. And so it's actually a person, you couldn't tell. Everything I could find, it seems like it was somebody Drake knew and he's friends with him or something like that, and he's hired him as his head of security, is what people say. His real name is Nestle Beezer, and I haven't been putting the lines up again. Sorry guys, I'm so into telling you about it, I forget to pin these up here. That's all I could find on the guy, though. I guess in this line, he's saying if he gets caught, he'll be home by spring. Caught doing what? I literally do not know. I do not understand. Comment below if you know. The next line says, things I shouldn't share. I mean, for the sake of my career. I'm not trying to stunt. I'm just telling you the truth, I swear. In this line, he's basically saying, oops, I overshared again, just like The Weeknd said in the last song. Anyway, the continuity in this verse versus in the zone is much better. And I'm like, okay, maybe the Drake deep dive won't be so bad. Maybe it won't be so bad. Because he was popping when I was in college. Like, everybody loved him in college. The last couple lines of his verse go, this the shit we really got to talk about in person. There's some shit I need to work on, but I know you see me working. Champagne. Champagne is like his Instagram name, Champagne Poppy. He's saying, listen, I love to communicate with you. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to be better. We literally do not even get a breath before we're back into the chorus. I swear I think it overlaps with the word champagne. And that is Live For. We're about to talk about Wanderlust. Wanderlust opens up with a guitar riff intertwined with a sample of Precious Little Diamond by Fox the Fox. According to Genius, the opening section of this track was apparently fully produced by Abel himself, which is a rare occurrence in his music. It is known that he does have a hand in producing all of his music post-trilogy, but this is one of the only times he's handled a major section of the song on his own. I was unable to verify this with any other article, but if that's true, that's really fascinating. So I'm just throwing that out there, but it's not like 100% accurate like some of the quotes I've been pulling from articles and stuff. So the lyrics officially start off with The Weeknd's first verse, where he says, is it so hard to say the same thing? And you're so weak to say the same thing. Here, he's wondering, why can't you just agree with my point of view? Why do you have to disagree with me so much? And I think if we keep listening, we'll find out why. He then says, burn a hole into your apprehensiveness and let the wildfire shine and repeat after me. He's saying, let loose, girl, but in a much more sophisticated way. What do you mean, burn a hole into your apprehensiveness? That pin, mother freaking pin, okay? The next line is just literally so iconic. I almost got a t-shirt that said this on it for this video, but it wouldn't have been here in time for filming. He says he wants us to repeat after him. What does he want us to repeat? Good girls go to heaven, and bad girls go everywhere. But he didn't come up with this on his own. This is actually probably a reference to a song by Meatloaf. It's literally called Good Girls Go to Heaven, and in parentheses, Bad Girls Go Everywhere. So once you recover from the whiplash of how good that line was, you'll come back to reality. We're still repeating after him. He says, and tonight I will love you, and tomorrow you won't care. Genius points out that he says, repeat after me, meaning he is dictating the next 4 lines that we have. To no longer love him after that night. The girl herself is not saying a word. Rather, he is telling her to stop loving him. Hence, repeat after me. Moving straight from verse 1 into the bridge, we pick up with the sample of Precious Little Diamond. It says, precious little diamond, I leave it all to you. Precious little diamond, let it come to you. And it repeats and repeats and repeats. In the hook, we get the definition of what wanderlust is. He says, you're in love with something bigger than love. You believe in something stronger than trust. Wanderlust, wanderlust. He's saying this girl doesn't just want love, she's in love with the idea of the perfect love, of the soulmate. Genius says she wants to find the right person for her and settle down with them instead of running through a list of people like the Weeknd seems to be doing here. If you look up the definition of wanderlust, it's a strong desire to travel. However, in this context, it's a little different. I'm heavily relying on Genius annotations for this one because there's a lot of layers to wanderlust, okay? It's not just like a banging pop tune. It's got layers. I also love this contribution from Genius. It says, wanderlust doesn't mean she's out there sleeping with a bunch of men. That would support Abel's theory on what love and trust really are in his mind. No, what the girl is doing by searching for a man to love her in the way that the movies show men and women love, i.e. commitment, monogamy, etc. What Abel's trying to get across is that she can't ever find love in today's society. It doesn't exist anymore, he thinks. So she's going to be out there wandering forever. In the About section of Wanderlust, Genius also mentions that this could be a reference to Paul McCartney's song of the same title, Wanderlust. Now that we've defined what Wanderlust is, we can get into verse 2, which says, don't you shy away from me, just sacrifice your every last inhibition. You know why I made that face? You don't have to ask me. I wasn't going to highlight that, but I don't feel like it. So he's reiterating that this girl is a relationship girl, and he is not a relationship girl. Even though she's a relationship girl, though, he still wants her. So he's trying to convince her that, like, you're not going to find true love out there in the world. Like, you should just be with me for tonight and then, like, forget about me tomorrow. And she's, like, not interested in that. I think that's okay. I think two people can be upfront and honest about what they're looking for in a relationship, whether you're like the Weeknd and you're saying, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious, but I think you're fine. And the girl can say, like, no, I'm actually waiting to find my husband and you're not him because you just want to sleep with me. So I think I'm going to pass on that one because it's just not what I'm looking for. Thank you, though. He says, I'm on your side. Don't patronize. You know, tonight is the only time we'll have each other. Why would you try to waste this precious time? Because tonight we'll be right here and tomorrow you won't care. She's still clearly disagreeing with him, but he's trying and trying. He's giving it one last shot. Tonight might be the only time that they see each other even, and that's why he's so desperate, potentially because of how much traveling he does. He probably just ran into her tonight. The last 2 lines of this almost feel like a repeat after me moment, don't you think? Tonight we'll be right here and tomorrow you won't care. Then we repeat the bridge and the hook again, no pun intended, and move into the Weeknd's own bridge. Yes, there's 2 bridges in this again. He says, they're in love with this idea of love. It's a shame they'll believe it'll come for us all. For us all. With his use of they here, it almost feels like he's breaking the 4th wall and he's talking to the audience. Like, he was talking to the girl before and now he's talking to everybody listening to this song. He's talking specifically about a group of people who believe in true love. He's like, you guys really believe in real love? What a shame. He said, I was loved once in the last song, but not really. We repeat the hook again and he sings this out intertwined with the bridge from Precious Little Diamond. He says, precious little diamond, I leave it all to you. Precious little diamond, let it come to you. As a side note, Genius says this song is probably one of the songs where he sounds the most like Michael Jackson. Not just vocally, but sonically. And that is Wanderlust. Kissland is the second two-part song on the album, and it's the sixth two-part song by The Weeknd if you're going through his discography in chronological order. That is not including the birds. Those are two separate songs. Like, yes, they're called part 1 and 2. I'm talking about in one song. In part 1, Genius says the first half of this double track reflects the kiss aspect of the album, the sexual and sensual parts of The Weeknd's experiences and imagination. The song starts off with dramatic building synth tones and a literal scream that is repeated throughout the song. He wanted to create like this horrifying sonic landscape. He sings, "When I got on stage, she swore I was 6 feet tall, but when she put it in her mouth, she can't seem to reach my ... dot dot dot." And we just get to fill in the blank there. He's talking about how he's up on stage and he looks taller up there because he's elevated up off the ground. He's actually 5'8" in real life. This is where things start to get a little meta, but I'm going to try and keep it as grounded as possible. While we can infer from the lyrics we're literally talking about oral sex, in a figurative way, he's also saying he's so big and famous that she is not on his level. Now, let's put the last line of this that I just said that I'm going to put up on the wall right now. When we put the last line I just read and the next few lines together, what do we get? She can't seem to reach mine. Ballin' ain't an issue for me. I make 100 stacks right back next week. Do it all again. I'm faded off the wrong thing, the wrong thing. According to Genius, we know he's well endowed because the echo of the ball links into the next line, which begins with ballin'. And that's all I'm going to say about that. According to the Complex article, he mentions that this line, when she put it in her mouth, she can't seem to reach my... He says that's me paying homage to R. Kelly and even Prince to a certain extent. Either way, he's letting us know that he is making money now. No more bed surfing, no more happy house. Okay, we have money now. Where is he staying though? We're gonna find out. It's not the Four Seasons. When he says he's faded off the wrong thing, he's taken the wrong substance for the environment that he's in. He says, and I'll admit, baby, I'm a little camera shy, but exceptions can be made because you're too damn fly. This is him officially letting us know in his lyrics that he is camera shy. He is not kidding when he says that. This is why he was not featured on the cover of his first 3 mixtapes. He says in the Complex article, you guessed it, in the beginning I was very insecure. I hated how I looked in pictures. I just hated that. Like, crop me out of this picture right now. I was very camera shy. However, he will make an exception for her to take a picture with him. He says, for what it's worth, I hope you enjoy the show. Because if you're back here only taking pictures, you're gonna have to take your ass home. Gotta be one of my favorite lines of a song ever, okay? He literally says the meanest shit, and I'm like, oh my fucking god, I love that. Enjoy the show is foreshadowing for enjoy the show on Hurry Up Tomorrow. And he's saying you can't just be at the show to take pictures, like you have to enjoy the show. You have to be present and listen to him sing and dance and do whatever. Or else you gotta hit the road, girl. He sings in the bridge, because the only thing you're taking is your clothes off. Go ahead, girl, strip it down, close your mouth. I just want to hear your body talk. The hook, however, is probably the most interesting part of part 1, in my opinion. Some of y'all might not know this, but that nonsense that you hear in between, "Ooh girl, don't hold back, let it out," are actually lyrics. He sings, "Nothing is going to change my love for you," in parentheses, which is a sample. You guessed it, it's a sample that contains elements of La Ritournelle, written and performed by Sebastien Tellier, and it's sped up, which in turn pitches it up higher. They didn't adjust the pitch. One Genius contributor said this is supposed to emulate the feeling of or snow and also sound like a female voice, because you know he's famously pitched his voice up to sound like a girl or emulate a female character. So when he says he's faded off the wrong thing, maybe he means like snow is not the vibe for the function. That's repeated a bunch of times through the hook before we come back down for verse 2. He says, you can meet me in the room where the kisses ain't free. You gotta pay with your body. not really into kisses leading into nothing. He says he's not okay with just making out for tonight. He wants more. He wants to maybe hit a home run or go to third base or whatever. He's into getting it on in the back room, in so many words. He's also into shows every night if you play your cards right. I might fuck around, bring your whole crew on tour, fuck around, turn you to my West Coast girl until they book a show in NYC, gotta fly back east where the city don't sleep. If you didn't know, New York is referred to as the city that never sleeps. We can infer from the lyrics that this girl exists on the West Coast, but he's talking about maybe bringing her with him. He doesn't really know yet, so he'll always have access to her. Or he's considering, let's leave this girl on the West Coast and she can be my West Coast girl. Okay, so he's talking about maybe bringing her on tour with him. He's like, no, I think I want to make you exclusively my West Coast girl, which sounds like a great gig. However, this really means that he's going to have other girls in different area codes across the country. Being the West Coast girl is short-lived because if he has a show in NYC, he has to fly back east and he might be up all night. He doesn't explicitly say this, but he's saying like, when I fly back east, I'm going to have an East Coast girl. He then says, whoa, I'm trying to finish all this potion. Baby, take your time. I'm trying to sip it till the morning. And if you're still up, I'm trying to fuck you in the morning. Said I'm 2 days strong and never sleep until it's morning, until the morning. How many times can he say morning in 5 lines? 4 times. Morning reference, not necessarily a dawn reference though. He's just trying to take it slow and stay up all night. If the girl is awake with him, they can freak. He's literally like, I've been up for 2 days straight and I have no plans of going to sleep anytime soon, at least until the sun comes up. He follows that up by repeating the bridge and the hook, and we head into part 2 of Kissland. Here we can hear the sample of La Ritournelle slowed down, referencing how it feels to be on something else, a different substance. He wants to do that till the morning, so it only makes sense that they would take the sample and slow it and reverb it and do whatever. Mixed into this slowed and screwed sample are these twinkling sounds, which kind of sound to me like you're walking through a beaded curtain. So we're entering another room. We're going into the back room maybe for the second part of the song. After the sample drops out, the beat picks back up and you can hear singing that almost sounds like moaning in the background, but this carries us through the melody into part 2. If the first part of Kissland is the kiss portion, the second part is the land portion, reflecting the Weeknd's opulent tour life. We move into lyrics about tour specifically and move away from the slower, sensual themes of the first half. Kicking off part 2, he says, I got a brand new place. I think I've seen it twice all year. I can't remember how it looks inside, so you can picture how my life's been. So he is finally not homeless anymore. He has worked hard enough, earned enough money to have a place of his own. However, he cannot even enjoy it because he's never home because he's on tour. He doesn't even know what the inside of his apartment or house or whatever looks like. Ooh, let me get these up here. I didn't put this up here. Take a shot every time I forget to put the lyrics up. I did not only miss one, I missed quite a few actually. Maybe we can do like take a sip every time I forget to put the lyrics up here. I'm gonna run out of room. He then says, I went from staring at the same 4 walls for 21 years to seeing the whole world in just 12 months, which was confirmed in the Complex article. He says, but there's a lot of cool twists with this album because this album symbolizes everything that I'd never experienced in the past 21 years of my life. 21! I'd never left Toronto. I'd driven to Montreal, but I'd never been on a plane before 2 or 3 years ago. From when I was born to when I was 21, I never left Toronto. That's why I'm such a city cat. Trilogy is my experiences in those 4 walls. Kissland is me doing the things I did in Trilogy in different settings. That's from the horse's mouth to your ears. In case you were wondering, his first plane trip was a vacation to Costa Rica, and his second plane trip was to go play Coachella. Big contrast there. Big contrast there. He told GQ in 2021, going on tour, seeing the world. I went to Tokyo, America. There's all this new information. And then on top of that, I wanted to continue making music. And me not fully transitioning into full-on pop star yet, I was kind of in a middle ground. And I feel like Kissland was that. Back in the song, he says, been gone for so long, I might have just found God. Well, probably not if I keep my habits up. Probably not if I can't keep up with lovin'. If you'll recall in Drake's Live For verse, he says, this the shit you need God for. So The Weeknd says he might have found God, but that seems to be a false notion, considering the next line says, well, probably not if I keep my habits up. And he also says he can't keep up with lovin'. And according to Belong to the World, he just started learning how to love, albeit in the most unconventional of places. This is backed by the, you guessed it, Complex article where the interviewer asks, do you have a greater understanding of love on this album? He says, I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it is subconscious. The interviewer also asks, have you gone through heartbreak before? He says, I think I did. I'm not sure. Some people think they go through situations and then it hits them like a brick. I hope I fell in love, and I hope that my heart was broken, because if I didn't, I don't know what I'm about to go through in the next 20 years of my life. And he sings, and I can't stand talking to brand new girls, only down to when you shower them with ones, and which would reflect his experience in Professional. He then continues with the probably not statements, saying, probably not if my round them up, and probably not if we take them to my spot, probably not if I tweak all day just to sleep at night. I'm high. That line breaks up that flow and we move into a bit of a quicker flow. He's like, wait a damn minute, I am so high right now. He said, I'm so freaking high, but I've been waiting to tell you this. The next lines are, my doctor told me to stop and he gave me something to pop, and I mix it up with some Adderalls and I wait to get to the top, and I mix it up with some alcohol and I pour it up in a shot. Right now, he's doing everything he can to get to the peak. Other people in his life, like his doctor, are telling him that he needs to stop if he wants to continue building his career. He can't go on like this, but he is trying to reach the peak at this point in time. The next lines go, I don't care about you. Why you worried about me? All I want is that smoke. Give me all that smoke. Last week was my rough week. I'm still dripping down from my nose. And he's trying to deflect the people in his life telling him, like, you need to slow down, you need to stop. We can also infer that if he's still doing this, there are probably some people in his circles who are supporting this type of behavior because he has some people to do it with and are even partaking with him. So to the people that are trying to help him out and get him off of this, he says, I don't care about you. Why are you worried about me? And when he says he's still dripping down from his nose, he probably just had like really bad allergies last week. Yeah, that's probably what it is. Based on everything he just said, it just really sounds like he's having that post-nasal drip that you get from allergies. His immune system's probably really low right now. And maybe he had a cold last week. I don't know. He's just now getting over it while he's partying for some reason. He says, and I don't know how to drive. I make my driver get high, but if he goes under that 110, believe my driver get fired. Rhyming high with fired. Genius seems to believe that his driver may receive a contact high from smoke in the car, which would make sense since he just said, I don't want all that smoke, give me all that smoke. As for the next line referencing how fast he wants his driver to go, for Americans like me, 110 miles an hour sounds like a freaking crazy speed to go. That sounds like race car speed. Actually, in Canada, they go by kilometers per hour. 110 kilometers per hour is actually like a regular normal speed to drive. The next lines are, and I don't got any friends. I got EXO in my blood work and I'm posted up down in Florida, Fort Lauderdale, to that MIA. MIA stands for the Miami Airport. He's not missing in action. This was really cute. Genius said he didn't have any friends with him because they're actually family. And I thought that was really sweet. When he says he's posted up down in Florida, he means he literally wrote this song and this album in Florida. According to The Weeknd at his Miami show recently, he said that he wrote and produced Kissland in Miami. He then says cold drinks with Grand Marnier to the break of dawn, Kahlua milk, White Russian when the sun hits, White Russians with tongue tricks. Ayy. Okay, let's take this one line at a time. Number one, Grand Marnier is a brand of French liqueurs, not liquor, liqueur. The second thing is we get a Dawn mention. This is an actual Dawn mention. Kahlua milk is another liqueur-based drink. It's one part Kahlua which is a coffee liqueur, and 2 parts milk. Why you want to be drinking milk in the middle of the night, I don't really know, but I guess that's basically like what an espresso martini is. And I'm gonna put the freaking rest of Kissland right here. Number 3, White Russian is not just talking about a person, it is a cocktail. You have vodka, coffee liqueur again, and heavy cream this time. So that's the morning drink. And White Russian is also a strain of weed. But I think given the theme here, we're talking about coffee liqueur drinks with milk. Number 4, he takes White Russian as a play on words, saying he knows some White Russians who can do tongue tricks, which could be literally contorting your tongue or doing smoke tricks, we think. We being me and the strangers on genius.com. The last lines of verse 3 go, she grind hard for tuition, she grind hard till her teeth chip, I make her hide it with gold grills, I make her suck it with gold grills, in the back room of the VIP, she don't ever sleep. So what I glean from this song is that this girl is a college student and she is working very hard to pay for her tuition. But if she's grinding her teeth, she's also probably getting high, which grinding your teeth is a side effect of taking drugs like MDMA, for example, or snow. If she's ground her teeth so much that they've chipped, she's been doing this quite a bit, and he's making her hide it with gold grills, which are like encasements you can put over your teeth to make them look like they're made out of gold, until she can get them fixed in the morning. They can get some canoodling done in the VIP section of the back room with the gold grill in. The final thing he says about her is that she never sleeps, which is also probably why her teeth are chipped. She's not brushing her teeth. And before he's even done with the verse, he cuts himself off with the outro saying, this ain't nothing to relate to. Even if you tried, you tried, you tried. He repeats this over and over again until the song ends, and that is Kissland. But don't you dare touch that dial. We got 2 more songs left, girl, and a bonus track to go over, okay? So now you know everything about Kissland, the song that there is to know, so when you hear it live on tour, or if you've already heard it live on tour, you know the significance of this song. This is important stuff, okay? These 2 songs, I would say, are almost like sisters or even twins. They go together. Like, I've been drawing parallels between some of these here and there, but these are like a continuation of each other. So we start off pretty with the lyrics. Somebody told me it was pointless for me to come back into your arms. Said you fucked another man. Finally, I knew this day would come. In this moment, we're running back to a previous girl. A girl that has tried to move on from him while he's been gone, but she has not been successful. And she thought she would eventually get over him. He says, "'Cause I see fear in your eyes. You've been living out your life. As long as you know that when I land, you're mine." He said, that's fine if you've been with another girl. I don't give a fuck. I do not give a single fuck. When I get back into town, you're mine. You're leaving him. You're leaving him. You're going to forget all about him when I show up. You will feel when my plane touches down on the ground. Okay? He then reiterates this point, saying, it's been exactly 365 since I've seen your face. I've been living on the road, and you've been living all alone at home. Girl, I hope he made you satisfied. Well, baby, I won't cry. As long as you know when I land, you're mine. Oh, and also, in between satisfied and baby, I won't cry, he says kimochi, or somebody says kimochi, which I'll tell you what that means in a minute. So he's been gone on the road exactly a year when he finally gets to come home. We can assume that she is in Toronto. Is this the love in the sky girl? He then says, girl, I hope he made you satisfied, as to say, I hope it was worth it. This line particularly is followed up with the word I said, kimochi, which isn't the only time there's Japanese interjected into this song, and this is the only time it's written down in the lyrics. So if anybody knows what's being said in the back of verse 1, comment below, please let me know. However, kimochi in Japanese, as far as I could find, translates to feeling or emotion. Next thing he says is that he won't cry because she's been with another man, which is crazy because he has been talking about cheating on her this whole freaking album, and he has been cheating on a girl all of freaking trilogy. Like, come on, man, get a grip, get a freaking grip. We then move into the chorus where he says, and you will never feel so pretty, and you will never feel this beautiful. When I make it there, oh, when I make it there. When he gets there, he's literally going to be so freaking obsessed with her. Genius tried to muddy up the meaning of this song with the interpretation of the music video, but I like to just look at what is written down here because we wouldn't have a music video without a song. You know what I'm saying? I love interpreting a good music video here and there, but like we have to look at it within the context of the song first. Moving into verse 2, he sings, "There are certain things that I've come to understand. Expectations can kill a simple man, simple woman, whoa." So he expected this girl to be frozen in time and not move on without him. Just sitting by the window, waiting for him to get back from tour like he is a soldier in war or something like that. Almost like how the Thursday girl would wait for him. But you gotta think about it, 7 days is a lot less time to wait versus 365 days. And it sounds like they weren't exclusive on either side. He says, "I try to master the art of that faraway love, but only so much can keep a woman warm." To me, this sounds like he could have been trying out long distance, or maybe they weren't even together and he was hoping that they could get back together when he came home, that she was still on the hook for him and she hadn't moved on. Like, be for real, it's been a freaking year. Either way, there's only so much he can do to keep her interested when he's literally not there. The rest of the verse goes, "Now it's times like this that I say to myself, we've been living in a cold, cold world. Cold world. But at least I have you to rely, even if for a short time, as long as you know when I land, you're mine." His perception of the world to this point is holding steady as a theme throughout this album. His outlook on life and love is the same in Wanderlust as it is in Pretty. It's incredibly cynical, but he's also romanticized all of his relationships to this point, saying he has her to rely on even for a short amount of time. He repeats the last line from the end of the first verse at the end of the second verse and repeats the chorus again. And I'm just going to repeat it again because I want to hear it again. "And you will never feel so pretty, and you will never feel this beautiful when I make it there, oh, when I make it there. And he can't make you feel this pretty. No, he won't make you feel this beautiful when I make it there, oh, when I make it there." Here, he's comparing himself to the other man, saying that guy won't be able to satisfy you the way that I can. He won't make you feel this beautiful when I get there. Then we have a breakdown with lots of dramatic vocals and drums, and we're launched back into the chorus, which is added onto again. The chorus in this song is never the same twice. As you can see, here is shorter than here. The third chorus is even longer. With more repetition, it almost feels like he's pleading with her. It's almost like she doesn't really believe that she will feel this pretty when he gets there. However, I want to point out that this song, we do not get anything from her POV. It is all just him talking and narrating in his own words. Like, he's not saying anything that she has said. He's not saying repeat after me. He's not saying any of that. He is just saying, like, when I get there, you're mine. And we don't really get any insights into what she's thinking except for, you know, like kimochi, like these little interjections in Japanese. But wait, there's more. There's an outro. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up here because it's important. This is probably the most interesting part of the song, and you've probably had no idea what the heck he's even saying here, but I'm gonna tell you. I need you to go ahead and sit down, though. Get prepared to take in this information, preferably on the floor if you can, right in front of me, right here, like we're in a kindergarten class. Okay, gather round, gather round. Are you ready? Okay. The outro is in this like deep, distorted male voice speaking French. I'm not gonna make you sit through my pronunciation of these French words, but it translates loosely to, "When a white dove sings its song, that's all we hear. Days roll like string in the wind. Tangled into my web, I reveal them again. It's been 10 years, my friend, that nothing else matters." She was just a kid at this time, suffering from a broken heart, a very deep pain. This is where I saw her alone, ready to begin her 17 years. Does that sound remotely familiar to you at all? If not, I'm going to tell you what it's probably from. But this is basically a loose translation to French of Stevie Nicks' Edge of 17. The chorus of Edge of 17 goes, "Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, it sounds like she's singing. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just like the white-winged dove sings a song, it sounds like she's singing, "Ooh, baby, ooh," said ooh. Verse 1 goes, "And the days go by like a strand in the wind. In the web that is my own, I begin again. Said to my friend, baby, everything stops, nothing else mattered. He was no more than a baby then. Well, he seemed broken-hearted, something within him. But the moment that I first laid eyes on him, all alone at the age of 17. Sound familiar? It's not a direct translation to French, obviously, but I do have a quote from The Weeknd that would explain what's going on here. He says, I find a sound and I run with it. It varies from Stevie Nicks to Genesis and Phil Collins. The production is very cinematic for me, and R&B was never cinematic like that. So what does it mean in context? I think in context it symbolizes the girl is like the white-winged dove. When they first meet, they're so young, but time passes much like a strand or a string just in the wind. You know, we have been dealing with a lot of the themes of like how time has passed while he's been on the road, how much things change when you're not in a place for an extended period of time, and all of a sudden 10 years gone like that. Blink and a year is over. People move on. There's really no resolution to this song other than the outro. You're probably wondering who the heck even says this outro here. You're like, it doesn't really sound like The Weeknd. Like, I know he knows some French and it could be him, but it's so distorted we don't really know. But I did some digging, and in the credits on this song, there is someone called Prince85 credited with additional vocals on this track. He also has credits on Die For You, as well as Until I Bleed Out, which is the last song in After Hours, and We Don't Trust You with Metro and Future. Who the crap is this prince, this king, providing for us? Well, nobody actually really knows who this is. I found this article in Vice called The Weeknd's Mysterious Producer Prince85 Made Us a Mix of French Electro and Hip Hop. And it says he is a Paris producer whose real identity is unknown. What we do know is that he also spent time living in New York and Toronto, where he met Tesfaye and would end up opening for the artist on the latter's 2013 European tour. So he's opened up for The Weeknd in 2013. The article goes more into detail about their friendship and their relationship, but I think we'll get more into that on Starboy. So, do you think the vocals here are Prince or Abel? Let me know what you think. And that is Pretty. The final track on Kissland, probably one of my favorites. It's Tears in the Rain. We start off Tears in the Rain with some tight, echoing snare drums. They sound like they go down just a hair in pitch every time it's hit, and then it goes right back up. It's so subtle you wouldn't even know it's there, but I would like to point it out. It also feels like the tight drum is supposed to mimic the sound of water dropping into like a puddle or a ocean or something like that. I don't know. Water leaking from the ceiling and dripping. After a few rounds of that, the melody comes in, does a lap, and we dive right into the chorus. The chorus says, they all feel the same. Adjust to the fame. 'Cause no one will love you like her. It's pointless. Like tears in the rain. And I was doing the freaking deep dive on this song, and I kept hearing like the live version in my head, and I was like, but I didn't see that on my tour. He did this on the freaking European leg last year. He did it live. And I watched it over and over again, and I was like, that should have been me! That should have been me! My sister and I also play this song every time we're in a car together and it's raining. He said the thing! He said the thing! Genius says the title of this song actually came from a scene in Blade Runner. Quote from Blade Runner goes, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser gates. All those moments will be lost in time.
Like tears in rain.
Time to die. This is almost like his own Tears in the Rain monologue. He says all the girls he has access to now, they all are literally the same, which he touches on this a little bit in After Hours in a lens of like plastic surgery. At this point in time, he's saying no one will love him like the pretty girl. And it's pointless to even be sad about it because they never work out. It's kind of like if you've ever cried in the rain or maybe in the shower. Not that I've ever cried in the shower, but I can imagine that maybe it would feel a little pointless because your tears are getting washed away with the water. The pretty song comes from a perspective of like hurt and pain, and this one comes from a perspective of like accepting what is. And he's saying he has access to all these other girls. He's trying to use them to get over this girl. However, they are not like the pretty girl. He's saying it's almost pointless to even be sad about it because they would never work out now that she's been with another man. He's using tears in the rain to illustrate how pointless it is. He then goes on to say, so now that she's gone, embrace all that comes and die with a smile. Don't show the world how alone you've become. Remember how I said pretty ends on an ambiguous note and we don't really know where they end up? Well, Tears in the Rain is basically like an answer. So now that she's gone, mention of gone, except she's just physically not there anymore. He's decided he's going to move on. He's going to embrace all that comes. He will be up there on stage and he'll be out in the public and he'll be smiling like there's nothing wrong. He repeats the first half of the chorus again, and then we go into verse 1. In verse 1, he says, when it's said and done, I already felt love and I let it end up dying by itself. He said, and belong to the world, and you taught me how to love when nobody ever could, and in pretty, it's been exactly 365 since I've seen your face. Now, if we mix all of these together in the Kissland pot, he's saying he fell for this girl, but he went on tour and she moved on without him and he couldn't keep the love alive from a distance. In verse 1, he's saying he felt love, just like he said in Love in the Sky. Nobody's ever made me fall in love with this amount of touch. And now, kind of like The Town, kind of like Pretty, kind of like Belong to the World, you know. Continued in verse 1, he says, and when it's said and done, you were better off. You deserve real love, and I deserve to be by myself. And oh my gosh, just rip my heart out, throw it on the ground, stomp on it. What do you mean you deserve to be by yourself? What did you do? It's not his fault. And that's what's so heartbreaking about that line is like, you don't deserve to be by yourself. You deserve to find love. It just didn't work out. We have some more growth moments in this song. This is probably the most growth that we have throughout the whole album. Although it's imperfect growth as well. We still have a long way to go. He's saying to her, you deserve more than I can offer you. Like, I won't be there to support you, and we can't settle down and have a backyard and children and do all this stuff because I am going to be living a very unconventional life. By admitting this, he's saying maybe they didn't have real love after all, and she's better off without him, and he deserves to be alone. That's what he thinks. I'd also like to call back to The Town once again, where he says, you said it was love, and you said you were lost, and then you wish me good luck to find somebody to love. So in this part, in Tears in the Rain, he's come to accept his fate the only way he knows how. He says, because I've gone too far, and I started too young to give up. And even if I changed, it would be too late. I exposed my ways. Now every girl I touch. That's another time that he leads this into the next part very smoothly. This is part of why he doesn't believe he deserves real love like in Wanderlust. He admits that he enjoys the nightlife that he is becoming accustomed to. He likes paying for a girl's time, but he thinks no girl will have a relationship with him because he is known to frequent those places. That's my interpretation of it anyway. He's gone too far in the sense that he's already got some notoriety. He can't just go back to living a normal life now. He's gone too far. So even if he did the work and changed, he thinks everyone he meets will have that perception of him. So we're going to have to tie back in this last line with the chorus. Now every girl I touch, they all feel the same. Verse 2 is short and sweet. It almost feels like a mini bridge before the bridge that comes up. He says, I should have let you leave, but I let you watch me slip away. I could have set you free, but I'm selfish. I watched you stay. This reveals that he must have been trying to keep dating her while they were on tour. Watching her stay and wither away and lose interest in all her hobbies while she was at home, furthering her life and her career while he's out here growing, she is stuck in the mud waiting for him. And he saw her slipping away. And he's admitting to being selfish, saying he could have set her free, he could have broke up with her, but he watched her stay. In the bridge, he goes up into his falsetto and he tells us almost helplessly, she has no recollection of the life she had without me. She let it slip away, away, away. So sad it had to be this. She forgot the good things about me. She let it slip away, away, away. That is the last lyric I have to put up here for the main 10 tracks. You know how like up here when he says learn to mistreat you and belong to the world? It kind of feels like that. She has no recollection of the life she had without me. Without you? She's without you right now. But basically what he's trying to say with this, she wants to delete that from her head. She doesn't want to remember all the time that she spent without him while he was on the road. She let it slip through time like it was nothing. And with the bad stuff, she has also completely forgotten the good stuff too. If anything, when you're going through a breakup, you almost try to like villainize that person so that you don't go back to them. You start pointing out all the negative things so that you will stay away from them. Not that I would know. Not that I have ever done that before. He repeats this one more time, runs it through an extended version of the chorus with a bunch of gorgeous ad-libs on it, and we're sent off into the outro with him repeating the bridge one last time. All of this repetition throughout the song feels like him coming to terms with where their relationship is. It's not a happy ending. There's no closure. But Kissland isn't about happy endings. It's about what truly goes on with his life at this time. And that is Tears in the Rain. We're not done yet though. You thought you were going home that easily? Nah, we got one more song. One more song. Encore, encore. Odd Look, Weeknd remix. For our victory lap, the deluxe version of Kissland featured Pharrell's remix of Wanderlust, but all the lyrics for that are the same as Wanderlust. Him remixing it does not change the meaning at all. It's just a little bit more funky. Odd Look is a song by Kavinsky featuring The Weeknd. Like on Spotify, there is no deluxe Kissland version like there is of everything else, but I do think that is because Odd Look is a Kavinsky song remixed by The Weeknd. This is basically saying like, this is not The Weeknd song, this is a Kavinsky song. But it was officially released as a deluxe track, and we do not shy away from anything deluxe. If anything, I believe it adds to the story, not subtracts from it. According to Genius, the song was written by Abel himself with help from Kavinsky, Belly, and Sebastian. On the production end, Kavinsky also had help from Sebastian. After going through the whole song and kind of sitting with the meaning for a little bit, this song is kind of abstract. It's a little bit Wanderlust. He is kind of telling a literal story, but the story part is not as heavy as the production and the singing. There was also not a lot of annotations going on, so this is just my interpretation of it. Once again, we start off the song with the chorus saying, "Your hesitation speaks to me louder than million words per minute. I was born to this life you're living in this game. Said nothing will ever be the same when you're finished. I freed a couple souls just yesterday. Oh yeah, there is not a single annotation in the portion of this song, so we are flying completely blind. Let's just start off from the top. I want you to think about how loud a million words a minute would be. That's pretty freaking loud, okay? He seems to be talking about freeing a girl from the hesitation of partying with him, and this reminds me of In Life of the Party when he says, "You've been really good. You've been thinking about being bad ever since I put you on. She got money for just check her damn nose." And he's like, "I freed a couple girls from their inhibitions just yesterday. So I'm like a pro at this." But once you experience this life, whether it be rugs or fame, you can't go back. You cannot live the same life. Just like in Love in the Sky, there's no turning back. In the only verse of this song, he says, "I had a good girl in my room, no tats on her skin. I put work all in her purse. She got guilt all in her grin. And I swear it be the same every fucking where that I've been. All you girls try to be saints, I'll make you roll with a sinner." Everywhere he's been, he's had to deal with good girls. Or girls that are fronting to him as being good girls. But in case you forgot, good girls go to heaven and bad girls go everywhere. Once again, we are dealing with a girl that he is paying for her time. Whether this is her profession or not, I don't know. He is just giving her money. He is putting work in her purse. He says, "You can come to my hotel. You can bring me a friend. You can dress up like twins. I can teach you some French." So he's from Canada and he does famously know French. However, he's not just talking about the language. He could be talking about the act of French kissing or having a threesome, which also has a fun French word called menage a trois, which would be possible if she brings a friend. Yes. He says, don't know what city I'm in, wake up and do it again. And if you know me well, then I don't like to talk. But when I make a move, you know it's loud as f. And if you want to scream, get loud as f, baby. So we're clearly at the height of tour if he doesn't know where he is multiple times in a row. He says if you know him well, he doesn't like to talk, which could be an allusion to the fact that he did not do an interview until 2013. The article I reference all the time was his literal first interview ever, but it could also just be the fact that he wants to get down to business and he doesn't want to talk. He says, I can tell you've earned a bit of deconstruction, a little bit, ooh yeah, ooh lord. Potentially this could mean we're deconstructing the idea that partying with him is a bad thing. Like maybe it can be fun and she deserves to have fun, right? We repeat the chorus again and head straight into the bridge. He says, do you feel like you'll come back around? Does it make you strong? Do you feel like you can take the planet on? Oh girl. So now he's asking for a 5-star review on Yelp of their time together. Not really, but now that she's hung out with him and rolled with a sinner, he wants to know if it makes her feel strong and feel like she can take the planet on. Does she feel better? Because it certainly makes him feel better. He says, did I seem to give you a little bit more love to your gloomy life, to your empty life? Little life, little lie. Oh yeah. Here we get a peek behind the curtain of what he really thinks about this girl. He's just using her to party with, just like the souls from yesterday. Here we get a little bit of insight into what he really thinks of this girl. He's just using her to party with, just like the souls from yesterday. He's saying she had a boring, gloomy life before he showed her the way to do life. And he's also lying about showing her love in any capacity. He then says, do you feel like you got your money's worth? Because if you did, this round's on me. Just promise that you'll come back to me. Feed me, baby. Feed me, baby. He wants to know if she enjoyed her time. He's saying, you know, if you did, don't even worry about it, girl. Like, it's all on me, but promise that you'll come back to hang out with me if you enjoyed yourself. We repeat the chorus, and that is Odd Look. And that is the end of Kissland. Now, all I want to know is, did you feel like you got your money's worth? Because if you did, this round's on me. If you feel like you learned anything from this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more, because we will be doing Beauty Behind the Madness after this and more deep dives on other things coming very, very soon. If you're here from TikTok, comment below with the XO emojis. That will let me know that you came from TikTok and I can show you some love in the comments. As always, thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video. Yes, that's a little bit of Bailey Sarian. Okay, bye!